good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a late edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, welcoming you. Of course, we decided that we would let the Mondo track episode of the Mini Olympics Inter-Primary 2022 come to an end, and let me start by congratulating, of course, the Orange Army, the Charlestown Primary School, for yet again winning this incredible event, this event that is so widely looked at, widely respected, widely sought after, and of course widely attended. I would want to congratulate the principal and staff, the coaches, the athletes at the Charlestown Primary School, the parents, all of those. Of course, when Charlestown comes, they always come with the best intent, and they have had a tremendous run. I am told that this is the third year in a row that they would have won, and certainly congratulations to them. Congratulations to all the schools that would have participated: the Joyce and Lywood Primary, the St. Thomas's Primary, of course we have the Ivor Walters Primary, Maud Cross Preparatory, EPPS, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, VOJN, Violet O. Jeffers Nichols Primary. We have the St. James Primary as well. We have, I believe, the Nevis Academy, and we have Montessori. I suspect that they were all there and all participating, and I would like to congratulate them all. Now, when I left, I think the Maud Cross Preparatory was leading the Zone B, the smaller schools, and the EPPS had dominated that for many years, but they didn't look like they were doing as well. But notwithstanding, I think that they should all be congratulated, and so I congratulate them all and wish them all the very best. Remember, it is not whether you win or lose, but certainly how hard you compete, and once you've done your best, then, as we say, you leave the rest. And so congrats to everyone. I attended for a short period. I was especially pleased to see the crowds there, and that everybody was well behaved. I believe it must go down as one of the largest crowds we have seen at this particular event, and we know that this event is an event that attracts a lot of attention each year. I was especially pleased to see so many of our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts who came over and were part of this event as well. In fact, there were many of our political leaders were there. The Honorable Sean Richards, the leader of PAM, he was there. We had the Honorable Denzil Douglas, former Prime Minister and leader of the opposition. He was there. In fact, he was there with the entire team of candidates from the Labour Party, including Dr. Drew, Terence Drew, the new leader of the Labour Party, and the other candidates. They were all there. Everybody was present, and I believe that the numbers that I saw there today speak eloquently to the fact that persons missed the event. People really, really love the inter-primary sporting event. It is, to my mind, one of the largest, if not the largest, sporting event in the entire federation. It also warmed my heart, ladies and gentlemen, to see the quality of the Mondo facility, to see the lighting, to see the quality of the track, to see the maintenance out there. It really is a first-class facility, and I really would like to say kudos to us all, Nevisions, for having such a facility here on the island of Nevis. Why do I say that? I say that because, of course, the Inter-Primary for many, many years, decades even, was staged at the ETW Park, and our children were forced to run on grass, and if it wasn't during a period when we were getting rain, then they ran on dirt. And we always felt that that was simply not good enough. And so we now have them running on a first-class facility. We have them running on a professional IAAF certified facility. And I say to God be the glory. That is what we talk about when we talk about vision, when we talk about putting something there that will serve generations of our people. And of course, we have now to construct the stadium. But as I have explained and explained time and time again, that the facility and the phase that we have done has served its purpose well, and those children are now there running on a proper facility. And when I went there this afternoon and I saw the lights and the track and the infield, and of course the crowds, and how well the facility would have accommodated the parking and everything, I know that we have a facility that once we're done with the stadium will be able to host even events as large, perhaps as Carifta Games. And certainly I believe that we can host some invitational meets there as well. So kudos to all that have been involved. I am particularly pleased that this particular facility was built under my tenureship, and that this facility would have happened in my constituency. I fought hard for it to happen right there, and it really adds tremendously to the quality of sporting facilities on the island of Nevis. And we have had, in fact, a good run, a good track record of creating quality sporting facilities, refurbishing, upgrading. We have done nearly all the basketball, netball courts in Nevis at the moment, tennis courts. We are currently doing a tremendous amount of work at the netball complex, what we know as the netball complex. And so there's a lot of work going on, a lot of effort being put in. And of course, we encourage our people to use these facilities for exercise, to use these facilities to stay fit and healthy, but also to use these facilities to hone their craft and become better at whatever sporting discipline that they pursue. At the top of the show, let me send out birthday greetings to my dear friend Sandra Prentice. She is there in St. Kitts and is celebrating. I saw Sandra not quite recently, but the last time I saw her, I believe it was a few months ago. She doesn't look to me to be much more than 21 or 22. So Sandra, if you're listening, happy birthday to you. I wish you all the very best. And I don't know if you were here for the sporting event at the Mondo facility, the Mini Olympics as we call it today, but certainly I would have seen Papa and the guys them there, and I am hopeful that you had a wonderful, wonderful birthday today. For all of those others who are out there celebrating, I wish you happy anniversary, happy birthday, whatever your celebration may be. I wish you all the very best. I usually say good night at the top of the show because, of course, we have started so late. I perhaps forgot my manners, so good evening to everyone here, those in St. Kitts, those across the Caribbean, and certainly those in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. It is a pleasure to be here. I, in fact, was in New York just for a few days, and I flew back just this afternoon and was able to leave New York this morning. I believe it was around 7:30 a.m. Got to Miami, and from Miami here in a very seamless way. In fact, so many people saw me and said that they thought I was away, and I said yes, I was, but here I am now, and that is due, of course, to the marvel of modern travel. And I was very pleased to be able to attend the Mondo track for the Mini Olympics, and I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening to share views and opinions. Notwithstanding, we will have a truncated version of the show this evening and only do 1 hour as opposed to the usual 2 hours. Let me send a huge shout out to my aunt Ornette there in the Bronx, to my family, my siblings who are there in the United States, my brother Trevor, my brother Jerry, my sister Helen, my sister Soroya. They're all there, and I'm sure they're all listening. I want to say good evening to them. Good evening to Lloydie and the entire gang, Bones and Bernie, everybody who is listening. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to all our brothers and sisters in Canada. Jeff Coe, if you're listening, good evening to you, my brother. And of course, Malvern and Doc and Dion and the entire circle, my brother Mikey Liebert. If I start to name names tonight, I'll be here for the full hour naming names. I just want to wish everybody a good night. Let them know that they're in our prayers. Spider, if you're listening, you're in Inika, good evening to you as well. And for all of our friends and family out there, I wish you all the very best. It is a difficult time, of course, at this point in time. On Saturday, we have the state funeral and lay to rest the mortal remains of His Excellency, our former Premier, the Honorable Vance Winkworth Amory. And, of course, his body will lie in state as of tomorrow here at the courthouse, the High Court, at the Theodore Hobson QC Supreme Court building here in Charlestown. And we invite, of course, persons to come and to pay their respects. I believe that viewing starts tomorrow. The body line in state, starts tomorrow at 9. On Saturday, I'm advised that the funeral service will commence at 1 p.m. It will be at the ETW Park, and the intention is, of course, to have a service with the requisite pomp, circumstance, and reverence that the Honorable Vance Amory, the former Premier of Nevis and the longest serving Premier at 18 years, that he would have deserved. And so we certainly continue to pray for his family. We continue to send our condolences to his wife, his children, all of his siblings. I remember especially Meredith, because I know how close he and Meredith were, and certainly we pray that God, the great comforter, will continue to comfort them in this very difficult time. And so tomorrow the body will lie in state here on the island of Nevis, and it will do so for the next 2 days, and then on Saturday we will have the formal service of farewell, home going for the Honorable Vance Winkworth Amry, Premier of Nevis from 1992 until 2016. 2006, forgive me, serving some 14 years, and then after sojourn of just about 6 years in opposition, he would have come back in 2013 and served another 5-year term until 2017. And so all told, he would have amassed just shy of 19 years as Premier of Nevis, and I believe that his work would have spoken eloquently to what he was able to accomplish whilst he was still here with us. He also would have served at the national level in opposition for many, many years on the opposition benches, representing the good people of Gingerland, St. George, and then, of course, when Team Unity would have been ushered into office in 2015, he would have served 1 term as a minister in the Team Unity cabinet and the Team Unity government. The Honourable Vance Amry will lie in state tomorrow and Friday, and will be laid to rest in a formal state service on Saturday, which commences at 1 p.m. at the ETW Park. We certainly would hope that all of Nevis will come out to pay their last respects to someone who contributed much to the island, whether it was in politics, in cricket, in administration, in government, in education, in banking, in athletics, in football, whatever it was, in the church. Vance Winkworth Amry, our former Premier, would have contributed tremendously. Founder of CCM, one of the founding fathers of CCM, one of the early architects of Team Unity, one who would have, of course, been there when so much of our modern political history unfolded. I believe that we all owe a debt of gratitude, and I invite persons therefore to come out and be a part of that historic event as we say farewell to the Honourable Vance Winkworth Amry, our former Premier of the island of Nevis and longest serving Premier at some 18 plus years. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we also invite you to come, of course, and to be a part of the viewing, if you will, to be there and to pay respects as we, the body of the Honourable Premier Vance Amry lies in state tomorrow and the day after. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. It is 10 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. And of course, we continue in our period of mourning for the loss of Premier Vance Winkworth Amry, and we continue to keep his family in prayers. I in fact should have had my monthly press conference tomorrow, Thursday. I am, of course, asking for the understanding of the general public, but we felt that the press conference can sometimes become fairly charged based on the questions that are put, and it would not have been entirely appropriate to have the press conference given the situation and given the proximity to the state funeral for our fallen leader and Premier, the Honourable Vance Amry. And so for that reason, we would have decided not to have the press conference this month, making it the first month since I have been in government that we have not had a press conference. Of course, this was an unforeseen circumstance, but in the past we have sought religiously to have press conferences every single month, unless there was some event that prevented us from so doing. That is part and parcel of the commitment that I made, and the commitment made by the Concerned Citizens Movement when we campaigned in 2017. We have kept that commitment, and alas, we could not have the press conference this month, but we would hope to pick up again early in the new month of May, and therefore to be able to move forward with this very ambitious agenda of openness and transparency, where the Premier of Nevis makes himself available to the members of the press to ask the difficult questions and to get answers and to delve into issues that, as far as the press and people are concerned, are of relevance to the people of Nevis. And so I will have to advise that the press conference will not occur tomorrow, but we'll of course send out an early date as to when we can do it in May. And I thank everyone for their understanding in the circumstances. There has been, of course, a lot of politics in the air, and the Team Unity government has found itself in some serious trouble. Trouble, I think, that has come about because of an unwillingness of those who are involved to compromise, and an unwillingness for them to sit down and, as I like to say, eat some humble pie and come to the table understanding that it is not about us, the individuals. It's not about Mark Brantley as the leader of CCM. It's not about Sean Richards as the leader of PAM. It's not about Timothy Harris as the leader of PLP. It is really about St. Kitts and Nevis. And sometimes, notwithstanding how we may feel about each other, it is important that we exercise the necessary good sense on the premise and on the understanding that ultimately we serve not ourselves but the people. And we must ask ourselves and continue to ask ourselves, is what is happening in the best interest of the people? And I believe if we are guided by that, then we would seek to find solutions to problems. I am satisfied that when the history of this period will have been written, it will say of the Honorable Sean Richards, and I pray that it will also say of me, that we tried, that we advanced proposals for solution, but that the Honorable Timothy Harris was unwilling to consider any of them or to offer any proposals of his own to deal with the obvious problems that we face. I, for example, continue to be amused and bemused that we have in New York a senior diplomat. The diplomat that is placed at the United Nations is one of the most senior diplomats in any country. And that we have a senior diplomat placed in New York who will go on state-owned media, ZIZ, twice a week and use that platform to bash sitting members of the cabinet. That cannot be right. In fact, I spoke to one ambassador recently who said to me that if he were ever so crazy to do that, he would be recalled instantly. Instantly. There are certain things that are simply not done. And when they are allowed to happen and they are condoned, it leads to a breakdown all around in terms of the government. And to see that the Honorable Sean Richards and I would have put that to the Honorable Prime Minister, who is the person who has the power to appoint and to disappoint ambassadors. And his response was to say, in terms, that the ambassador has freedom of speech and the right to speak, just like others have the right to speak. And I marvel at that. As I said, I am amused and bemused, because I wonder, for example, could you work at TDC and use your time in the media to attack the board and members of the board and to suggest that they're thieves and they're scamps and they're all kinds of things? Of course you have freedom of speech. That goes without saying. That is what I would call trite in terms of a response. It is not the question of whether you have freedom of speech. It is a question of what is appropriate in the circumstances and what message it is we are seeking to send. You have some individuals who have aligned themselves with the Prime Minister and his party, the PLP, who openly and brazenly under their own names attack me. I have been the brunt of it for years. Attack Sean Richards, the leader of PAM. Attack others. brazen in their own name and image, they attack. And what happens? They're rewarded. One, I am told, doesn't even have the qualifications to be appointed to the civil service, cannot come up with the minimum subjects that are required, but is making in excess of $7,000 per month, courtesy of his association with the Honorable Prime Minister. You hear what I tell you? Doesn't have the minimum subjects to be appointed and become a part of the civil service, but is making over $7,000 a month. In fact, closer to $8,000 a month. And takes all day, every day, bashing. So I wonder if that is why he's being paid. And I have no difficulty with persons earning. This is our country. And if there's an opportunity for somebody to earn something, I say more power to them. But again, I ask, what message does it send? That you're rewarding bad behavior? That you're saying to folks who behave in this way, this is all right. In fact, you pay them so handsomely, it could be said that you're encouraging it. And when your partners say this is unacceptable, the response is, oh, they got freedom of speech. And that is part of the dilemma. We're in a government, I lead a government here in Nevis. The Honorable Spencer Brand, for example, I believe, has revolutionized public works in terms of the work, the quantity and quality of work that he has been able to accomplish, notwithstanding 2 years of COVID, lockdowns, curfews. He has delivered in water, he has delivered in roads and infrastructure. He has delivered at the post office, and he continues to deliver. The Honorable Alexis Jeffers has delivered and delivered and delivered. He is the action minister. In agriculture, look around, you see the transformation, the use of technology in terms of shade houses, the increase in food production here on the island of Nevis, as we continue to insist that we must have better food security. Look at the projects that he has been entrusted with. The Newcastle Police Station, the water taxi pier at Wally that has revolutionized travel in the Federation. Joyce and Liebert Kitchen. Various projects, the abattoir expansion, the veterinary clinic expansion, the acquisition of engines for Nevlec when he was the minister with responsibility for Nevlec. All of this and more. If you want to see quality development, go to Madden's. As housing minister, go to University Heights. Go up there to the top of Craddock Road. Go up there to Hamilton. Look around in Rice's, right here in Cherry Gardens, and you see the DNA of the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. The Honorable Eric Evelyn, a newcomer. Just go up there and look at the Arthur Freeman Center of Excellence, right there in Market Shop, as we call it. A facility so splendid that they were able for the first time to host Culturama there last year. Look at the work that is being done by Eric Evelyn in social services. His work with our elderly, taking care of people. Look at the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. The work that she has been able to achieve in gender, in health. New ambulances at our hospital, new equipment, new doctors, new nurses. The way we battled COVID as a response for this island, one of the best records in the region. Our vaccination effort, our expansion of the Alexandra Hospital, finding generators for all of our health centers to ensure that if we were to lose power, we don't lose medication because we maintain refrigeration. The introduction of COVID testing, PCR testing at our Alexandra hospital lab, the soon to be commissioned state-of-the-art 128 slice CT scan machine. Giant strides in healthcare here on the island of Nevis. Look at the Honorable Troy Youth and Libert. He and his team, how they transformed education and allowed our children to continue to learn in a safe environment, allow our teachers to continue to function in a safe environment, notwithstanding the challenge of COVID-19. Blended approach, made sure that children got the devices that they can work, made sure that homes got internet if they had none. Refurbished the homes, put a team together, refurbished the schools, put a team together to ensure that we continue to ensure that our schools are maintained. Staffing is at acceptable levels. Technology is being deployed. Overseeing the transformation of TVET, construction of the first ever TVET center in Gingerland, and soon to start construction of a TVET center in Charlestown, as we emphasize technical and vocational education. Look at the work he has done with library services, the work he has done with IT. Right now, the IT department is spearheading the effort to take the cable, what do you call it now? Fiber optic cable all across the island of Nevis, which will support our CCTV, but also will allow integration, higher speeds for internet around the island of Nevis. Troy, of course, would have served prior to that in public works, where as the minister with responsibility, he would have transformed Hanley's Road, he would have transformed Braziers, done many big projects here on the island of Nevis. Now I say all of that to say that as the leader of that team, I have been privileged to work with individuals who are committed to serving the people of Nevis. And how foolish would it sound for me as the Premier of Nevis, knowing that the Honorable Spencer Brand is the lead minister in relation to water and infrastructure, for every time there is a success in water for me to jump up and say, "I me do it." For every time their road is built and motorists express their joy at having proper access to their homes and communities, I jump up and say, "Me do it." Every time the Honorable Alexis Jeffers were to have some success in agriculture, I jump up and say, "Me do it." Anytime the Honorable Eric Evelyn were to have some success with the programs, the finest programs in the region for our elderly, I jump up and say, "Me do it." And anytime the Honorable Troy Libert or the Honorable Hazel Brandy were to have some success, Hazel was able to secure some ambulances at the hospital, I jump up and mark, do it. Troy was able to build a TVET center in Gingerland, I jump up and mark, do it. How foolish would that be? And we must understand that that is not real leadership. Real leadership takes none of the praise and all of the blame. You know what I tell you? Real leadership takes none of the praise and all of the blame. Because you have to empower the people around you. Allow them to do their work. And when they succeed, allow them to bask in that glow of success that they have served their people well. We cannot have a situation where every success of a government is only the person who occupies the seat of leader comes out and says, "Look at me. It is I, and I alone, who has accomplished this." No. And so we must fix things. We must come together, speak to each other, get off of our high horses. Remember that it is the people that we serve, not ourselves. And so sometimes we get so puffed up with pride, so arrogant that we say, it is I, it is I, it is I, forgetting that we serve others, not ourselves. But this is not something for personal aggrandizement, self-aggrandizement. This is about service to others and allowing those around us to shine, bring out the best in everybody. That is what we should be concerned about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will say one final thing, and then I'll open the lines in the event that, notwithstanding the truncated show, there are persons who may wish to call. I have noticed that in this political crisis, I will use that word, that has enveloped our country, that nothing, it appears, is now sacrosanct. Nothing, it appears, is now confidential. And nearly every day we see correspondence addressed even to the Governor General of this country being leaked to the press. Who is doing the leaking? I don't know. But when 6 elected members of the Parliament and members of the Cabinet will write and affix their signatures to a letter to His Excellency the Governor General, the highest office in our land, and the representative of Her Majesty herself here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I were to see to my chagrin that this letter makes its way into the public domain with the signatures affixed in the blue ink that was used to sign. That's a perfect PDF of the letter that was shared and delivered to the governor's office, Governor General's office. One wonders, how did that letter find its way? I signed the letter and I don't have a copy, because, of course, those in Nevis would have signed and then sent over to our colleagues in St. Kitts who would have signed. So I don't have a copy of a fully signed document. But that made its way into the public domain. Well, who leaked that? We have seen correspondence with the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, as an elected member of the People's Action Movement for the Good People of Constituency 8 in St. Kitts, would have written to his party leader, the Honorable Sean Richards, setting out some concerns that he has, which he's entitled to set out, setting out some fears that he has, which he's entitled to set out. But how does that letter make it into the public domain? How? Who was it shared with? And what mischief have those who have sought to put it there? Sean Richards and I wrote jointly to the Honorable Prime Minister, setting out some points of concern and suggesting some ways to remedy those concerns. The Prime Minister sent back an 18-page epistle, which we know was not written by him, because when we read it, it is quite obvious who the authors were. Authors of confusion. And that 18-page epistle, which really it took 2 or 3 days to read, so difficult was it, that came, and bam, before you could read it good, that too was in the public domain. Again, leaked. Tonight, as I'm sitting here, I receive a letter under the hand of the Honorable John L. Powell, writing to the Commissioner of Police, seeking to support the grant of a firearm license to a private citizen. Well, Mark Brantley don't write so many of those same letters. Just as I write letters to the U.S. Embassy to support people seeking a visa. That's what we do. The commissioner responded to the applicant for the firearm license to say that he's not minded to grant the firearm license because, according to him, the individual has some antecedents. Put differently and colloquially, the individual would have had clearly some run-ins with the law. So the commissioner in his discretion decided he would not grant the firearm license. I have no issue with the commissioner of police. He can decide to do whatever he wants to do. My question is, how did the letter from Jonel Powell to the commissioner and how did the commissioner's response to the applicant find their way into the public domain? You mean even the commissioner's office has a leak? So you have a leak from the GG office. Letter sent to that office. You have a leak from the commissioner's office. Letter sent to the commissioner and the commissioner's response. You have a leak from the Prime Minister's office. Letter sent to him and his response. You have a leak. Eugene Hamilton communicating with Sean Richards, his leader. And I have to ask if our Calypsonians out there who are getting ready for Culture Armor can't pen a song that St. Kitts and Nevis needs a plumber. Because I never see more leaking. In fact, if we were a ship, the ship don't sink because it's a leaky ship. Everything that ought to be confidential pops up on social media. To what end? To what end? Was Jonel Powell wrong to write in support of an application to the Commissioner of Police for a constituent or someone he knew? Nothing is wrong with that. All of us do it. The Commissioner acted within his power to deny, refuse. Well, how them letters make it into the public domain? That I could hear sit down, minding my business at Van Radio and get them on my WhatsApp. You know, WhatsApp have a thing now where they say, oh, forwarded many times. You try to forward that, you could only send it to one person because so many people don't forward it and forward it. So I get the things I forwarded many times. Where it come from? Where? And more importantly than where, why? I want the Calypsonian out there to write a tune, witty calypso, to say that we need a plumber-in-chief in St. Kitts and Nevis because, Captain, the ship is leaking. Somebody must write something about that. It is 25 minutes to the hour. We don't have a lot of time. We're going to go only to 10 as usual. We lost an hour because we wanted to carry the end of the 2022 edition of the Inter-Primary Sports Meet, sponsored by Gulf Insurance and the Nevis Island Administration and others who come on board each year to make this meet possible, the largest single sporting event in St. Kitts and Nevis. And the crowds did not disappoint today. Charlestown Primary School, the Big Orange Nation, emerged victorious again. Kudos to them, but kudos to all the schools that would have participated. I will open the lines and use this 25 minutes to take your calls, reminding us all that the mortal remains of the late great Premier Vance Winkworth Amory will be laid to rest on Saturday at the State Service at the ETW Park, and that his body will lie in state at the Theodore L. Hobson QC High Court building in Charlestown starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm inviting persons to go there to pay their respects and also to go to the funeral on Saturday to pay their respects as well. The numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show: 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers if you would want to be a part of the show, and I hope that there are persons out there who are listening, because I had a fear that had we started the show at 8, had we cut from the mini Olympics, there would be no listeners because everybody was riveted by the sporting prowess of our children. The other fear I had is that if we didn't start the show at 8, that persons would tune in who would normally tune in for the show, not hear the show and say, oh, there's no On The Mark this evening. So I'm hopeful that somebody out there is listening and may wish to pick up the phone and call and be a part of this 1-hour version of the On The Mark program for today. The numbers again, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700 if you wish to be a part of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, I was commenting on the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis finds itself at a crossroads. On Monday, the Honorable Sean Richards would have presented to the clerk of the National Assembly a motion of no confidence. A motion of no confidence in the government and the leadership of the Honorable Timothy Harris. That is unprecedented. And given the fact that we have changed the law in relation to motions, we now know that the motion cannot simply be ignored as it was hitherto when a motion was filed against the previous government led by Dr. Denzel Douglas. Today somebody said to me that there is chatter that the clerk of the parliament may take sick or may have to go abroad on an emergency basis. That the speaker might suddenly be required to spend lengthy periods abroad to ensure that the motion is not called. I smiled because I said, have we not been down this road before? What it is about power that individuals become so obsessed, so drunk with it, that decency flees to brutish hearts and reason is no more. That we can speak so eloquently about leadership and openness and transparency and honor and integrity, but when it comes to us, we display none of those characteristics because we are drunk with power. And all we're concerned about is holding on to power, regardless of the cost to the country. Because you see, it is about self. All of self and none of thee. So the machinations are even now ongoing. The efforts to frustrate the processes that have been outlined in the Constitution. Let us go to the phones. It is 20 minutes to the hour. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
You are...
Yes, good evening, on the mark. Don't set yourself. Don't set yourself. I'm going to come over here, my Vance. I'm going to funeral. But me understand, nobody could, we can't see him only just the coffin while we're working and the flag. I don't know what color the coffin me. But I'm going to come over here for the funeral. And don't set yourself with Daniel and all of them there. So all I am trying to get about me, know what the problem, but do not stress yourself. Have a blessed night. Take care.
All right, well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for your ongoing love and commitment, and we look certainly forward for you to come and to be a part of saying farewell to a great man. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night to the Honorable Mark. Good night.
Good night to you, my brother.
This is Mr. Politics calling me from St. Kitts.
Yes, brother.
Contributing to On The Mark.
Yes, thank you for that.
Mark, I will say something just now, right? It touches on the radio talk show. It touches on the radio talk show even before we get in government.
Mm-hmm.
And already was a minister in government. He was doing the talk show, radio talk show. And why now? Are you sure with the same thing too? Why now that the talk show come a problem?
It's not the talk show is a problem, caller. The
Yes.
problem is that Ambassador Liebert, you hear what the name we have? Ambassador Liebert, is a representative of the country at the United Nations. And therefore, anything he says and does reflects on all of us, on you and me. So it is not that he has a show. He can use the show to educate us, to tell us the work that is being done at the UN, the policies that we are seeking to pursue in terms of our diplomacy at the United Nations. He can talk to us about Ukraine and Russia and all the resolutions and various events that are happening at the United Nations. But if he chooses to use the show to attack members of the cabinet, and that is a problem. I don't see why people can't see that that is a problem. It's not a problem of the show, because the show could be used for good. It is what the show is being used for, and who is using it for that. If the honorable gentleman was a politician looking to get elected, and he used his show to promote himself and to bash his opponent, I have no problem with that. But in light of who he is, it's just like if I were to use my show, On the Mark, to attack the Deputy Premier of Nevis, to attack my ministers in the cabinet in Nevis, to call them thief and bad and worthless. It is inappropriate. Worse yet, caller, that it is a show on state-owned media. It's not even a private media outlet, you know. Is that I said?
Okay, Mark, I understand.
Yes.
I understand that. But Mark, I do not think that the Honorable Shah Richard do to form a motion against the Prime Minister and in cabinet and in government, I do not think he done the justice to him. I done the justice to even you. To see decision. I believe that he done a justice to the ordinary man and woman in the Federation, and they won't take it so. They won't take it like that. Because Mark, on the road, on the news and on the road, you could hear the people cry, you could hear the people grieve, you could hear the people hurt. Why this thing got to happen like that? Why they never work it out different?
So let me ask you, Mr. Politics, slow down. You're my good friend, and I'd like to engage with you. You are married?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
All right. You have a lady friend. You have children.
Well, I have children.
Okay.
I have children.
So let us take
a little bit from 2020.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. My condolences. I'm not trying to mind your business. I'm just trying to get a scenario.
And I just recently get in.
Recently do what?
I just recently get in. They're about 9 months now.
Man, you're doing wonders.
And it comes from over the water.
Where, Nevis?
Yes.
Man, you're doing wonders. You're doing wonders. What you call it, twins? 1st and 2nd Timothy? Huh? Anyway. You could give me a nickname for them. The point I was simply trying to raise, Mr. Politics, is, and congratulations on the twins, but the point I was trying to raise is simply this. In any relationship, you know that problems will come. The reason why problems come is because we are imperfect. Even when God only made 2, Adam and Eve, they had problems. So, we understand. They were perfect, we are not. And they had problems. So, problems will come. But the only way you can resolve problems is when the people in that relationship try to work them out. And that is the point I feel continues to be missed in all of this. The Honorable Sean Richards and I asked for a meeting with the PM. The PM never asked for a meeting with us. We asked for a meeting with him.
Yes.
We went to the meeting. We said, PM, these are the concerns that we have. The PM said he needs time to consider. We said, fair enough. We come back 8 days after that. The PM had no answer for us. We said, all right, we put them in writing this time, and we said, PM, we need these matters looked at. The PM sent an 18-page letter to us, cuss us, say this, that, and the other, and the terror, and again, did not address. Now, if you, the reason I asked about the madam, if you and the madam having problem politics, and the madam tell you politics, I got them 10 things here that giving me a headache. You don't put down no money to support the children, you go out and you drink rum every night, you stay out late, you go and go gamble. And if you want to save this relationship politics, you got to change. And you write back to the wife and you say, I gonna continue to gamble, drink rum, I mean I give you no money for no picnic.
Mark,
well, how you think the thing gonna go? Huh?
I understand where you're coming from, right?
Well,
but look we, the ordinary man and woman on the street.
Yes.
Are the voters are talk show, all let me look at it talk show.
Yes.
We don't know the problem, we don't know the council, we don't know the problem. Because Mark, what I hear is that you all want him to give up the portfolio.
That's all you're hearing?
That is what I hear. He must get the portfolio. And I do not believe the Prime Minister don't get the portfolio just like that. You understand? That is what I hear. You want this and you want that and you know something with the civil program and all these things. This is what we learn. You know? So we need the truth. We need you all come out and tell us the truth.
But you saw the letters, Mr.
Because
Politics, were leaked.
You all got to stand too.
But did you read the letters that were leaked? Huh?
Somebody sent something to me.
Well, if you read the letters, you will see that Sean and I raised, I think, about 15 matters. The PM responded to them. And on none of the matters was the PM willing to say. On the issues of people attacking members of Team Unity, the leadership, the PM said they got freedom of speech. Will that mean they're right? No, I would have said, gentlemen, since that is a problem and I agree it's a problem, let me make a phone call. Let me make one phone call.
Well, Mark, maybe the fact like that because they hear how the situation was going.
They hear?
They hear and they know how the situation was going.
But I don't understand what you mean by that, because if there is a problem and others are heaping gasoline on the fire, you tell the boy with the jug of gasoline, boy, go sit down. You're not helping the situation. That's what a leader would do. You don't say, well, if you want to pour gasoline, you got the right to pour gasoline. Me not go stop him.
But Mark, okay, yes. Anyway, but the host of the program, he don't bring the line, he bring the truth.
He bring the truth?
Even something with the Prime Minister, he'll bring it.
Yeah, but
somebody says something negative against the Prime Minister, he'll bring it.
But my point is simply this. My point, again, Mr. Politics, is who you are and what your role is. That is my point. It is not just a question of somebody going on radio and banging them out. Is who you are. If I were to use this program tonight, and this is not state-owned media, this is a private radio station. This show is paid for by a law firm, Daniel Brantley. But if it is, yes.
Suppose the PLP gets 4 seats. And the onus for the perform the government is to come to you. If you win back to 3 seats, do you accept a coalition government?
Before you ask me that, which 4 seats the PLP can get?
If 4 seats they're going to get?
Yeah, which one do you think they're going to get? You understand the politics and singles? No, I'm saying you understand the politics, so I'm asking you a genuine question. Which are the 4 seats?
I ain't got to call the 4 seats. I ain't got to call it the 4 seats. But in the interpretation and what I see on the ground,
yes,
I believe they could win 3 seats in Sinkit.
They could win 3 or 4, you think?
Yes, I believe they could win 4 seats in Sinkit.
But you don't know which ones?
Because it's better here. We're not different in the country.
Right.
Sometimes I go to Sunny Point and different places. I hear the different talk, especially these young people. And Mark, let me tell you something, where bumpy people make this decision, it's young people who politically active now and they listen to what's going on. You know, all people know, when a lawyer support us from a political party now. This ain't no lawyer support us from a political party now. This is the performance of the unity government and the leader we have here, what he has done in the leadership in the past 7 years. Mark.
Mm-hmm.
The young people, they don't show this old blind politics.
So you said the leader has done all this in 7 years?
But the leader and the government has done. The government and he has done.
Oh, okay.
For the past 7 years.
But is the leader,
leadership.
But Marx and the leader of the government?
A leader must carry the force.
Yeah, but he carried the force, but who's in the force? Pamela in the force and CCM not in the force?
You're in the force because Engineer McCarthy, I always praise the cabinet too.
Yes, no, I hear you.
I always praise the cabinet.
My brother, all I'm trying to do is to understand, that's all. I'm just trying to understand. So you're saying that the good that happened in the country, everybody should take the credit because everybody contribute to it? We all in the cabinet together? You agree with that?
I'm not good at that is what I said. That is what I said. I just congratulate the Prime Minister and his cabinet.
Right.
Especially under the COVID situation when we were tying up and tangling up and we couldn't have time to go.
I got you, brother.
And the things they work out for the tax man money, things they work out for the workers and everything.
Yes. All of those matters would have come to the cabinet. Lindsey Grant would have brought some matters for the taxi drivers and the hotel workers. Lindsey Grant would have brought matters for the crews to restart. You know, Eugene Hamilton would have brought matters for solid waste. I would have brought matters for vaccines and from the U.S. government and the White House. Everybody. And so that is the thing that I think is necessary, that people understand. The peace program would have come to the cabinet, discussed in the cabinet, approved by the cabinet. So just understand how the government works. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Before go right.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand you.
Yes.
I understand everything you say.
Mm-hmm.
But before go, I want to make a public apology to 5 candidates from the People's Action Movement who criticize and brutalize and the common best to the meeting. I even broke up the meeting with the Lindsey Grant marriage problem. Our problem. I want to make a public apology to Bernard Welch, to Mr. Ralph Fleming, to Junius Clifford, me, and somebody else. 5 of them.
5 of them, you say you mash up the meeting?
5 of them, yeah, 5 of them. I want, and Glenn Rajanchit, I want to make a public apology to them because it's the same situation Tom was in, and because of the problem, they fired 5 candidates, 5 years young men, who could have done well to the country as a minister in government. So I just want to make a public apology to them because I really went on the skin. I went on the skin. You understand?
Yes.
So, Brother Mark, I will continue listening to them. I was listening to this because I'm not a great on the job. You know it's going to make me on the job. I was listening to the sport in the
Of course.
And I wanted to see Charles from the school all the best, man. They did back to 3 years, you know? 3
years, because...
And I want to wish you all the best, man.
Repeat. Well, thanks, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, you take care and good luck to you and those twins, eh? All right, that is Mr. Politics say you have twins, 4th and 2nd Timothy. I wish him all the very best, and you know, I like the conversation because it's important that we try to not disrespect each other. We have different views, we understand each other, we understand that the country is not monolithic in terms of its views, that we are people who are thinking people, and that people will see the same set of facts and interpret them differently sometimes. And that is part of what we try to do here on The Mark, not to disrespect each other, but rather to have a conversation. And that is why I would have entertained Mr. Politics for the past, 20 minutes or so, and had a good chat with him about how he sees things. And it allowed me to reinforce the point I tried to make earlier, that when a government does something, it is the government. You know, I see here people talk about, for example, the peace program. And they say, oh, you know, the Prime Minister. And I said, of course, the Prime Minister is the leader. But the peace program came to the cabinet. The 3 members of the CCM voted to support it. The members of the People's Action Movement voted to support it. Sean voted to support it. I voted to support it. So how come when it works now is only the Prime Minister? That doesn't make any sense. Tourism, I remember Lindsey Grant used to call me cabinet is a Monday. And Lindsey would call me Sunday in the pandemic days and say, Mark, Lord, I beg you when we go cabinet tomorrow, Monday, support this. I want the cruise ship them to come back. And I said to Lindsey, brother, I will support because the hair braid and the fellow with the little monkey and the man with the little bar, all of them struggling and suffering. The taxi man struggling and suffering. And I heard the pain in Lindsey. The passion for the people. He wanted these things to get going again. And time again he came to the cabinet. He didn't find favor. And when he eventually found favor, little cruise ship, I recall, came in over Carambola. One of the small ones. Was one of the 4 ships to come back. I see a big poster goes out. Congratulations to the Prime Minister. Cruise has come back. And I said, good God. You mean you couldn't let Lindsey take the credit for something that he did? That is what I'm saying. It is not taking anything away from the leader. The leader is the leader. If I as Minister of Foreign Affairs go out there and I make a big speech, if I go up to England, I tell people that I led, and I'm proud of it because that is part of my legacy as Foreign Minister. I led in the effort in relation to the Windrush scandal in the UK. But it's the Prime Minister who said to me, Mark, you go. So if I did well, he does well. But it ain't he who do it, it's me who do it. And nothing is wrong with that. Leadership takes none of the credit and all of the blame. It is the shortest show that I've ever done. 1 measly hour. But it was for a good purpose. Because we were able to get the full length of the mini Olympics. I end the show where I started it. Congratulations to the Charlestown Primary School. I say it so often because today I went over and they put an orange pom-pom in my hand and say they want to take a picture with me. They're very, very pixum. The supporters of the Charlestown Primary School. All the schools should be congratulated. I wish them all the very best. And next year, God willing, we hope to come and do the same. Remember, please, on a solemn note, that the body of our fallen Premier, the Honorable Vance Amory, will lie in state here at the Courthouse, High Court, tomorrow, starting at 9, and Friday. And thereafter, his mortal remains will be laid to rest in a formal state funeral on Saturday, 1 p.m. at the ETW Park. May our prayers continue with his family. Good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.